Good morning. Good morning. Morning. Konnichiwa. All right. It's like a Rolling Stones, concert. I cannot see the end of this room. Great. Confidence is growing. There is some feedback. I need to test the room so I have the safe boundaries of where I can move. I'm very happy that I could start earlier because I have prepared 40 slides more for this occasion. Yes, we are here, Confidence 2017. I cannot be more happy to be with you. We are going to share today some of the findings that we made recently in our SOC. So we are celebrating the first anniversary of Krakow Cisco Active Threat Analytics SOC. 1 year ago there was a very small team. Now we are almost 40 strong and we are growing. We had some ideas what to show you. And then, of course, we had some interesting activities on the market in the last 5 days, right? I think you've heard of it. So we decided to delete all the slides and create the presentation again. This is what we are going to present to you, one of a few things. I called it Stories from the SOC. What we do is we analyze large amounts of data to find threats in the environment. And what we do for a living is we produce only confirmed breaches as information that we deliver, right? Nobody is interested in the noise. If I have a low fidelity or false positive or an IPS alert or a malicious file traversing the network, it is not yet necessarily a compromise, right? So this is huge, honestly, and this strive for having high efficacy and fidelity in the detection is huge today. And those of you who are especially on the blue side of the house and are working in a SOC, are working to protect the networks, to analyze the logs and the flow telemetry and the full packet capture and endpoint data, will find something useful here, I hope. Right. A bit of history. We did some sessions before at Confidence. This is a purely networking session. I talked a few years ago, actually it was half a decade ago, about the identity principles and attribution. 2013 we discussed the network security treasures, what you can use in your intelligent infrastructure to elevate the security of your environment. I think it's useful. Over the last year, I have interviewed a triple-digit number of candidates to our SOC, and network fundamentals are important. People forget how layer 1 to 3 works, and they try to, to start with Metasploit. Okay, so if you have, for example, I know TCP/IP in your CV, you are going to be asked questions about it, right? For example, what is the header structure? 2 years ago, we established our SOC at the end of 2015. The official opening was in April, and we did a session. What we find, it was the real-world threat hunting. And last year, I've been talking about making sense out of the security operations. All of this is available on YouTube, and some of those decks are published as well on the internet. And this deck, which I'm going to show you, is also going to be available. I think we are both recording the video, and there will be a deck published. We've made all the efforts to sanitize, but before we finally publish, we have to review it once more. So first of all, in the SOC, you have to have the focus, right? What we did, and the principle of how we design our operations is we identified the main challenge. Today, working on the data in the SOC is working on a huge volumes of data. I'm saying petabyte volumes of data. So nobody is going to manually search randomly through this data. You have to have some underlying logic and meta layers that you have detection engines that work on IOCs. You need to have a playbook, and there is a whole book written on this topic by our investigators from Cisco. It's called Building an InfoSec Playbook by O'Reilly. How to build a proper SOC playbook, and SOC playbook is a crown jewels of what you have in the SOC, because not everything you can detect via deterministic one-to-one detection. So this is the second part. You have the detection like IPS, Snort, Suricata, Bro, all those great engines. We use all of them, and other proprietary solutions. The market is full of solutions. Then you have the playbook, and then you have data scientific methods, right? Like, for example, the most simple would be a traffic baselining and detecting anomalies across the traffic flows, understanding the traffic patterns. It's huge. It's not very concrete knowledge, so you cannot directly infer that this is a compromise, but this is a great starting point for further investigation. And of course, we are in a pretty good position to understand how flow analytics works because we have invented NetFlow, right? So this is the hot threats wall in our SOC. So hot threats are really hot threats. We are seeing thousands of malware samples and hundreds of thousands of unique attacks per day. But you need to focus on something that is really industry-wide and very far-spreading, very far-reaching. Critical vulnerabilities like Apache Struts, or huge, massive volumetric attacks like Mirai, or the latest, greatest ransomware variants that are for sure diminishing the amount of sleep from your busy agendas, at least for some of you who are protecting the networks. And I'm going to show you a bit of the examples, right? So as I mentioned, we needed to reshuffle the presentation, and I came to Confidence today, and I saw that nobody had a session yet about WannaCry, so I want to talk about it. Okay? Do you agree? So then the next speakers don't have to. So I'm doing you a favor. You can do, real stuff. Just a short summary. Shadow brokers, Windows vulnerability, as SMB-v1 protocol operates via TCP, worm-like capabilities spreading horizontally across the network, massive scanning involved, and exploitation of unpatched Windows XP machines. So machines that shouldn't technically exist in the universe, right? And even the OS vendor decided to roll out the patches for unsupported OS. So this is really massive. And we have this interesting network layer site kill switch domain. If the domain is being resolved by the malicious code DNS resolver, the encryption will not continue. And those are DGA domains, and we found a few of them. So let's go through some of the IOCs. There are four different types of IOCs. And just to give you a heads up here, we are working with really large companies. We don't have any customer in Poland. Those are huge enterprises. And funnily enough, we didn't find too much in terms of real compromises. So I am not going to shock you to say, hey, we found 10,000 infected hosts in some company. No, we didn't. We found a lot of IOCs, and I'm going to show you a few of them for your viewing pleasure. It's a pretty dense presentation. Honestly, I am very happy that I can stand here because I can see the letters. Okay, so it's good to have a presentation because you can see the slides, actually. But as I promised, I am going to publish them and they will be available, right? So you will be able to see yourself. They have been, of course, sanitized because this is our real customer business data, and we provide a service, right? So we use many different tools. I spent almost an hour last year to explain what tools do we use. In the people segment, you have to have the right people. You have to have the right technology. You have to have threat intelligence, feed or many different feeds, and you need to have some analytics. And we believe those four components constitute a healthy foundation for a SOC. Here we have those DGA domains. Forgive me, I will not pronounce them. So we have used a Kibana search for that. More than 90% of the malware uses DNS for address resolution, and WannaCry is a great example. So if you have limited resources for ingesting and analyzing telemetry, DNS is one of the most valuable sources of information. And you know, solutions like OpenDNS, cloud-hosted Anycast DNS resolver, this is a part of Cisco now. So here I'm going to show you what we have seen in Umbrella when it comes to the global kill switch domain resolution, right? It started before 8 a.m. UTC on May 12th. Do you agree? This is what you've seen here, right? This is 8 a.m. UTC, 12th of May. The resolution started. And we started to see at the customer level, which I showed you in the previous slide, and at the global level. Here is the spike of about 10,000 DNS queries per the initial phase of spread, right? But now, all of this that I'm showing you here is this, okay? This is the bump, this is the scale. So, and now suddenly you have 50-fold DNS resolution increase later on, 3 days later, 500K spike. So as you can see, the spread and the infection dynamics has its life, right? We are observing certain things at the very beginning, and now suddenly we have a breakthrough, and we are seeing unprecedented levels of resolution, which means that we have massive infections here and there. So this is quite interesting because it says this domain is currently on the umbrella block list. This is not exactly true. So technically, we are not blocking, because the kill switch domain function is to not be able to not be able to be resolved, and then encrypt the host and ask for ransom, right? So what we did is we used the DNS sinkholing. DNS is massively valuable also for mitigation. And here what we did, instead of returning NX domain for these specific DGA generated domains, we decided to put a special page. So this is a real address of the host, and it responds to TCP 80 HTTP request, which is exactly what stops the final infection and encryption. Okay, so if you have a DNS security solution, or even if you are using bind, you can use things like DNS sinkholing and walled garden approaches to steer your traffic then and prevent further damage. And there is, of course, the malware analyst perspective. Cisco has several hundred people working on that. A few of them are here in Poland based, but in the SOC we need to work tactically. We don't have a time to tactically manually reverse malware, right? There is another huge team, like 300 people doing that at Cisco. So we need to be tactical and rely on the observables and on the analysis products that we have. And this is an example of a sandbox analysis of this malicious payload. This is the link if you use ThreatGrid. And what you can see here, the behavioral indicators like ransomware backup deletion detected or shadow copy deletion detected. Now, of course, artifact flagged malicious by antivirus service. This is great. This is mainstream, right? And here, BCD edit used to ignore boot failures. This is important, right? To make sure that the machine is persistently encrypted. And this is how it looks like from the malware analyst standpoint. So now, of course, you have new threats coming, and the SOC has to be smart to analyze them. And we immediately write our own tools to search across the organizations we work with. If you work for some company and you protect the network, this is the customer, right? We have plenty of them, so we have to be smart how to search across. So we wrote a script which generates the high-level report web page, and these are the IOC hits across many of our customers. This is Spider-Man is safe. You see, no hits. Good. So now a bit, WannaCry uses Tor for communication, so it would be advisable to look for those IOCs, right? So the next IOC I'm going to show you are the exit nodes. I don't want to state that this is an exhaustive list of all the IOCs in the universe, because it's a work in progress, right? We are seeing more and more variants, and they will use some flipped letters in FQDNs like we have seen already, and other ways. For sure, it is still coming. In US only, there are like more than 100K unpatched Windows hosts exposed directly to the internet. So of course, it's a nice target. And the main topic here is to make money, right? This is another search. So we are seeing traffic to those to and from those Tor exit nodes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be malicious, right? You can have a valid business use for Tor. For example, some HR departments use it so that employees can safely submit their ethics problems, right? Like harassment in the company. You don't do it over plain text. So they use Tor, for example. Maybe you can confirm this. So This is another output of our search. One of them, North Carolina, Durham. This is coming from one of our customers in US. Now we are building our own big data analytics platform, which I covered last year, because working with petabyte level amount of data, and also being able to search through it, and get a deterministic results within a couple of seconds, it's hard and it's costly. So we decided to build ATA platform on its own. It is not a product. It is a part of our service today, and it's just, you know, a rack. I talked at another conference, and I told that we are giving a rack. So in Polish, you know, we are giving cancer. No, we are not giving cancer, okay? This is healthy. This is a niche joke. I'm not seeing, you know, too many people smiling. Maybe not enough coffee, but the day will be long, right? So we decided to build this platform to search across hundreds of terabytes of data. You search for a regex or FQDN or any form of interesting IOC or IP addresses or file hashes, or some specific metadata extracted from the payload, and you are going to get an answer within a few seconds, which is huge. I cannot state how important it is, right? And there are several sources of information, like this is, for example, ASA firewall log. It's a useful source of information. It's good to have some network firewall. You can block 139 and 445, and you are quite good. This is coming from a files extractor, ATS files, and this is coming from the connections. So different sources of information. This is another search where we are specifically looking for some Tor exit node. Why this is useful? Why we use it? Because we don't rely on the logs. We believe we live in a post-CM world. Logs are great, but you need to have a flow information, you need to have threat intelligence, and you need to work with a full packet capture to validate it. Because until you get to the point where you do the endpoint forensics, you have to have an evidence that it happened on the network side normally, so reconstruct the sessions. And the third one is the onion domains, right? This is also one of the IOCs for WannaCry. We have a few. This is coming from our research. As I mentioned, it does not necessarily have to be a comprehensive list. We are not seeing everything. For example, with OpenDNS, we see around 2% of the world's DNS traffic. Can you imagine 2%? It's some people may say not too much. Yes, it gives you exactly the idea of what is going on in the whole internet. So we use it, of course. And this is the output. As you can see, we are seeing the communication to those onion domains. And this is an example of output from our ATA, Big Data Analytics platform. This is a Jobs button. You know Steve Jobs. So it's a tribute to him. But in reality, this is where you extract a full pickup. Because extracting a full pickup, it requires actually executing a job, and it's not real time. So I wanted to say this session, this protocol, this time frame, within several seconds or minutes, I want a pickup from 1 petabyte of data lake, right? So we need to have the ability to extract and then go deeper into Wireshark and validate certain attacks. And of course, then we create a ticket, right? We create a ticket when we have a high confidence that something is very, very bad and malicious and confirmed. Usually it's about confirmed. And we are seeing all kinds of different requirements. Please don't take it from my guest wireless network, because everybody's infected anyway. Have you connected to the Wi-Fi? I invented the password myself. Do you like it? So we take it, right, and we give the next steps, right? We give recommendations, and then of course, if you have a massive infection, you need to do an IR, incident response on site. Normally, you need to touch some device to do it, right? To get a forensically sound image, to collect evidence, sometimes for the law enforcement, right? So we don't do it in the SOC because we have a nice SOC and we enjoy living there. Yes, living. I live there. And we have the file hash, and file names, and we haven't seen them across our customer base. What does it mean? They are pretty secure. They don't allow 445 from the internet and Windows XP. Okay, so I don't have any massive story and jumping on the table that we are seeing some massive breaches, infections. Actually, no, but we are seeing IOCs, which is important to validate and investigate deeper. So now, of course, very interesting area to analyze is the flow analytics. More and more traffic on the internet is encrypted, and you will be not able to decrypt it, even if you like to, even if it is totally legal intercept and you do back-to-back TLS, sometimes you will not be able to, like with certificate pinning or with Diffie-Hellman TLS and other encryption methods, especially custom encryption methods. I would like to see the payloads is useful for the investigation, but I will be not able to. So more and more flow analytics is important for investigations. I will be able to see outer headers, extract some metadata and use it to compare to patterns that have already existed. This is why I need to store retrospective knowledge about what happened already. This is why I need a lot of storage. Although NetFlow is a telemetry. What we do, we get a span, like 10 gig interface span, and we generate the flow data ourselves. So we are both an NGA, the NetFlow generation appliance, and we are both the collector. This is what our ATA platform is. And of course, for cybersecurity, you want to have unsampled NetFlow. You don't want to sample every 64 flows because it is useless. It is good for service providers to have a generic understanding of their SP network, so they know what is the traffic patterns and what are let's say the top talkers, but not for network level forensics. So one of the environments here, this is a company in Japan, and what we can infer from the data where we didn't see any infection. Can I see some interesting stuff there? Right. So in general, we are seeing worm-like activities recently. This is an example, side topic. I will have a section on this later. A Gmail worm, an activity of the Gmail worm, right? This happened a few days, weeks ago. I will talk more about this. So the chart on the right can be interesting. So this red line represents the moment where we started seeing the kill switch domain resolution in the OpenDNS umbrella. Can you see some difference between left and right? These are the numbers of attempts coming ingress from the internet or on point 445. I'm not seeing too much difference. Maybe there is a small spike just after just after this red line, but it's not too much. It's not 10 times. It's not a logarithmic, progression of magnitude of intensity. And let's put it in a different perspective. Okay, so I'm collecting all the packets. I can see what is going on. I can measure the number of packets per flow, per session. Did something change after with the internet facing activity on port 445 when the first infection has been seen? And as you can see, we can see more intensity. What this graph represents, this is the number of this is infected host activity. One attempt, two attempts, and 3 attempts to establish a session to laterally infect other hosts. We are not seeing too much difference, right? So here it may be more dense here just after it started, but also not too much dramatic change. But this is interesting. It's one, I think, of the best slides in this presentation. It's the number of attempts with retries. So we are seeing a huge spike of 445 scanning on the internet just before we saw the first infection and the resolution of the DGA kill switch domain, right? It's huge. It's only one company in Japan, okay? It's not the whole internet. And here we have the next thing that happened after. This is the perspective of unique hosts trying to spread WannaCry over 445. You can see the spike here. After the infection started, we are seeing a spike of unique hosts. Why do you think this is that? Because we have more infected hosts and they are trying to scan on their own. And this is why we have unique IP addresses. So this is what we observed, very close to the, let's say, time 0. Can you see this? This is the scan, inbound scan from the internet, from some host. And this is extensive scanning on 445. Have you seen this in your environments? Somebody? Anybody? Can you confirm? This is what we observed based on the flow analytics. Right? So this is before, so somebody was, of course, trying to monetize this and scan the whole internet, right? And in fact, as much as I can, exposed hosts. Because as far as I know, WannaCry was not propagated by phishing campaigns. The main vehicle was the network traffic and scanning and then lateral infection. Can you confirm? Okay, and this is what happened after, right after this glorious moment is UTC 9 a.m., right, 12th of May. We have 445 and there are totally different unique hosts scanning now because the infection started. And now, of course, it will propagate across. This is a great other graph which we had to put. It's a great graph. It's the source port distribution, right? Does it tell you something? It tells us that we can use R for nice graphical diagrams. Do you use R for visualization your data? All right, maybe here. It's more dense. Can you see this? It's more blue. This means there is more attempts in general. This is what we can infer, but the general distribution didn't change. All right. Okay. Good so far. All right, so let's continue with the Gmail one. It was pretty interesting and very hot thread a few weeks ago until WannaCry arrived, right, for sure. Right, so we have those fancy phishing domains, and this is violating, let's say, trust of the user and luring him into allowing certain custom application to read, send, delete, and manage your email. And once it's, you know, completed and you agree, of course, the perpetrators use your account, use your address book, and spread this further on. All right. So this is an example of the endpoint-based detection match that we did with one of our customers. This is a host which has been hit by the worm, and this is the specific domain involved in this communication. One of those many domains that have been registered for the purpose of this specific campaign. This is a slide which you can only see on your 30-inch retina when you are at home and you have the PDF once we share. But here is the iexplore.exe. Okay, you have to believe me. This is where it started for this specific user. Right, and some more information about the IOC. And of course, why I'm showing you this? Because for us, having the visibility into the endpoint, what happened on the endpoint, what was executed on the endpoint, what was allocated on the endpoint, what files were created and changed, it's a massively valuable information. Sometimes we don't have it. Sometimes we have partial information. Sometimes we have only partial flow information from part of the network. Okay, only in a perfect world you are seeing everything and you can react properly. Right, so this is a challenge today, especially in large distributed environments where you have 2,000 branches in your network. How are you going to put a pickup enabled, you know, appliance to collect pickups from your location in some totally remote, obscure location where you have 3 employees? You can technically do it, but of course not everyone has the ability to use the printing press to print more banknotes to do it, right? And this is of course how we deal with it at the DNS sinkholing, black holing layer. Once we find it out, it is being blocked. And of course you can do custom blocking as well for the DNS. So it's massively valuable. And this is one of the tickets we created with all the observables that we have found on the endpoint, which I showed you just before. So the third one I would like to present to you today is the Jeff ransomware. Have you heard about the Jeff? Are you dealing with it? Actually, what is interesting for us, we have seen more real confirmed infections using Jeff than WannaCry. So this is why I wanted to talk a little bit more about Jeff, which is also a ransomware, but it is considered a separate family of ransomware, which is delivered via phishing campaigns. So how it works? We have the PDF being shipped to the poor user who clicks, right? And in the PDF, you have embedded JavaScript and you have embedded Word document with a VBA macro. So of course they ask you to enable macros and enable editing and enable everything. And of course it's a nice document, so everybody enables. And the difference here, this can be shocking, but this, you know, it's an innovation. Normally, those Word documents with those malicious macros, downloading the malicious payload later on, constructing HTTP requests and so on, this is a shocking, innovation on the cybercrime market. So the Word document normally, in those scenarios, had 1 page. But this Word document has 2 pages. So it tricked many people. 2 pages, malicious. All right. So nice story, I think. So this is what we did in the good old Kibana, looking for a specific domain communication, right? We have some IOCs related to this campaign, and we can relate to them via looking them up wherever you can. If you have a web proxy, perfect. If you have an email server which allows you to do it, or email security something, great. If you have a DNS server or some DNS security layer, that's even better. If you have a flow analytics with geolocation, that's also fantastic. If you have a full packet capture solution, it's beautiful. Life is so amazing until you see everything encrypted. And we are seeing more than 50% of the traffic encrypted today. But this is an example. This is the proof for you that we have seen this. This is another, pending info, famous domain, and VS card at the bottom. It's from May 11th, right? So JAF was popular in our SOC, and then the next day we started seeing WannaCry, May the 12th. And this is the ATA kit, so our big data analytics platform, right? You can do queries, regular expressions. There is a language for that, and the syntax. And here is unclassified. Unclassified means that some of our customers use BRO sensors in their environment, and they ship us directly the BRO logs. Just to ask you, how many of you are using BRO in production? Excellent. Great. But you are a speaker, right? Mr. Pruzinski from Mozilla, yes, I know. Okay, so it doesn't count. All right, so you will hear my fellow speakers' session about how they do it in Mozilla. And the BRO is important. If you know BRO, please talk to me. It's not like, yo, bro, it's the real BRO. The BRO sensor, the BRO analytics platform. One of the few main parsing, network traffic parsing and extraction engines that should be used today, together with a Snort. And now, as you know, Snort is a part of Cisco. So this is coming from the BRO sensor. It's a parsed traffic, and the logs are there. All right, so here we have an example and a proof for you that those IOC domains are blocked in the umbrella OpenDNS, is on the block list, right? This is expected from a reputable DNS layer security standpoint. All right, and the other domain. You can see some dynamics. It's great to understand also that the time domain aspect, right? Here. In April, we had a massive spike, right? And then we have end of April 28, and then we had something beginning of May. So there are some waves of this threat arriving and being propagated. The cyber criminals are smart. Sometimes they send the campaigns on Tuesday, because on Monday some people work from home or don't work at all. They come to the office between Tuesday and Thursday, so it's a great timing, right? And this is the ticket where we put all the observables, and our customers are interested in confirmed stuff, or stuff that is highly suspicious, but we couldn't confirm it 100%. So we give all the artifacts, and sometimes it requires deeper analysis on their side, right? And we put the IOCs, we suggest to block them. So you need to have some file, inline file analysis, or an email security solution that can, analyze the attachments and block specific SHAs according to those IOCs. All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. This session couldn't be possible without those gentlemen who sit here in the front, Takahiro, Pavel, and Oscar, and our Talos Security Intelligence Research Team. Thank you so very much. I hope you had a useful beginning of confidence, that it gave you some understanding of what we do and what is happening on the security investigations, the SOC side of the house. Please talk to us. We have our booth, and enjoy the rest of the conference. And by the way, we are hiring. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you.